Everybody who's here. Good turnout. Mike Polvani. Mike and I are old friends. I met him 15 minutes ago. So, he's going to show you some animation tips and tricks, primarily focused on 2D animation, but that 2D animation techniques will inform your 3D animation. And I have nothing more to say, and I'm going to leave it up to you to talk a little bit more about yourself before you start. That's cool. Go for it. Thanks. So let's give a big round of applause right now.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed staff. I'd like to open up by saying, what's up? Wow. I just want to let you guys know it's very, very casual. Not formal, just relaxed. Any questions you guys have along the way, please ask. If there's anything you don't understand, just raise your hand. And if I'm like into something, somebody just say, so I just want to get this set up real quick. I wanted to just give a brief description of my work experience so that you guys know who is this guy. So, I've been in the business about 28 years now, this September actually. And I've started out working at Filmation on He-Man, Fat Albert, the Cosby Kids, She-Ra, Ghostbusters, all those shows that came after that. I worked at Disney after that on Oliver & Company, Little Mermaid. And then I went to Bear Animation, worked in it was a commercial house for about 5 years, worked there. Worked on all kinds of stuff, Tony the Tiger, commercials, Rice Krispie guys, everything. Worked on Rover Dangerfield, the feature, American Tail, what else? Cats Don't Dance. It's funny after a while you're like, what's that? There's so many different places. Iron Giant, Simpsons movie, Mighty Joe Young, Stuart Little Part 2. Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. Those are the CG films I worked on. Mighty Bee TV series. Some animation there was a lot of fun. Just all over the place. Got something out. I'm sorry, but I just want to go ahead and show you guys the demo reel real quick, so you can see, firsthand some of the work that I've done. This isn't, of course, everything. This is just a condensed version here. And afterwards, if there's any questions, please, chime in.
And the Oscar goes to...
Hi!
Jim!
Thanks. It was getting stuffy in there. And the Oscar goes to... Manipulation, Daniel Greaves.
You're in the full moon. Ever seen.
Might be stuff.
Cause I'm running with the rainbow unicorn. Don't you wish you were me?
It's kind of quiet, sorry. This is like an LSD trip. She eats this piece of taffy and says, that doesn't taste funny, and then she goes through this weird trip. Now this scene, I have to stop it for a second. Watch this one really carefully, because after the demo reel, I'm going to show you the live action reference that I looked at to come up with these moves.
Gobi, Gobi, what's that one more time? Gobi, Gobi, ride a roller coaster. Oh. Where are they? What? Again, come on, my glasses. Where? My glasses! You wanna ride on a roller coaster? Yes, I wanna ride on a roller coaster.
Now I'm going to show you guys the live action reference that I used for Poppin'. This is phenomenal. This is amazing. Who's it got? It's pretty amazing. Funny little story about that scene. When I got that scene to animate, I was sitting there going, geez, I don't know, it calls for her to do all this popping and breaking this stuff. I'm not that familiar with it. So I just so happened to be sitting outside of the editor's room. And I went in there, I was talking to him on break, and he said, oh, dude, you know, you should reference that. It's this guy named David Elsewhere. And I said, okay, so I typed it in, and the rest is history. But when I animated that, you'll notice that he's doing a lot of stuff really close to his body like this, so it's kind of hard to read the silhouette. So I had to animate a whole pass where she's doing all these cool moves that I lifted from there. And then when I showed it to the director, he's like, no, it's not. It's got to be pushed more. You know, it's too constrained. So I went ahead and threw her arms way out and threw her legs around, had her spin around, stuff like that. So it's good reference, but it's not something that should be taken so literal, because it doesn't read as much. And in animation, we try to caricature things, exaggerate them so they read really clear to the audience and stuff. And I also wanted to show you guys, are there any questions about the demo reel? Anything you saw in there, you're like, what's that from? Anything that was like weird looking?
I see everything. All of those.
You've seen everything?
I seen all of those.
Even the black and white stuff?
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah?
This is crazy. I didn't really work with some of those. I was like, what? Well, for Cancel Dance, what animation were you working on that? Any specific characters you were working
Yeah,
on?
Danny.
You worked with Danny?
Yeah.
So did you meet Lauren Foss?
Oh, yeah, we're good friends.
You know Lauren Foss?
Yeah, she did, she worked on Sawyer.
Yeah, she was Sawyer, the guy named Sawyer.
Yeah, so there's some scenes that we had to kind of work together because he was both there in the shot, so. Yeah, she's really talented, really nice. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of talented people in that film. That was a real joy to work on that project because the atmosphere was very relaxed and friendly. I mean, we, played chess and stuff and visit each other's movies and stuff.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie.
We had a lot of fun. But they didn't promote it as much as we had hoped, but oh well, that happens sometimes. I want to show you guys some pencil tests. The reason why I'm showing you I lean more towards a 2D theory is because when you dig into 2D stuff and you do it on paper especially, it's like you get such a real thorough understanding of how to animate, like through and through, really, really deep, because you have to manipulate every little page with your fingers and go in and manipulate every little piece, with your fingers, it's very tactile, so you really learn it really well. So just letting you guys know, it's a really good way to learn. I'm glad I learned that first before I did the CG stuff, because there were a lot of principles and things and techniques and methods I learned that I could translate to 3D that helped out a lot, thumbnailing and stuff like that. But I wanted to show you guys a couple of examples of some rough animation and how it looks tied down. This was done by Ken Duncan. This is silent. This is, looks like his first pass through, just blocking it all out. Now he throws in just enough poses to describe what he wants the character to do. He doesn't put in all the in-betweens yet. It's just, if he has a quick little action, he might throw some more drawings in there, like when she points at her foot, he'll throw in a few more drawings. But look at how simply it's treated. It's very, very basic. There's no real draftsmanship, not that much going in yet. The arms are just little gestures, and there's shapes for the dress, and the overall body. He puts in the expression whenever he wants it to be a certain look. And look how easy it is to move something around and you keep it real simplified like that. It's great to work very simple and rough like this because you can make changes very quickly and it's not very laborious. It's minimal effort. So it's a great way to work. And you can do that in CG too with, moving the, here's the tie down version. You'd move like the whole model by itself as a primary movement, and then you go in and add the legs and arms and things like that. There should be audio on this. She's talking to her father. Oh, Daddy. She says, my foot. And all this jazz, right?
You might have to play it in QuickTime. It's a MP4
Okay, let me try
or
that.
MOV.
Thanks for the tip.
Terrified, I was terrified. Suddenly, I was swinging in the vine, up in the air, swinging, flying. I was in the air.
Yeah, yes, I
And
know.
then we were surrounded.
What did you do?
And Daddy, they took my boot.
Here's what I know.
And I was saved. I was saved by a flying wild man in a loincloth.
When you look at this, you think, oh my God, look at all the detail. Look at, he added little finger movements in there that weren't in there in the first pass. All these little things you can embellish and add later on once you get the basic performance in there. Just the idea. There's another one here where she wiggles toes too. Yeah, right there. See a little toe wiggle. All those little, that's like icing on the cake, all that stuff you can add later. And the way the hair is moving, her bangs, and the little strands of hair moving around, the clothing, and the little tie. All that stuff. It's an additive thing. It's kind of like sculpting. You add things, you take things away, keep adjusting and adjusting. It's a continual process that goes on pretty much throughout the whole scene. And of course, when you simplify things and just their shapes, it's a lot easier to move things around in perspective. You don't have to worry about drawing all the details right off the bat. Another good one to show is this by Andreas Deja. Obviously from
This will make me feel real good.
these hands. Look at that on the right, on the left. It's just, he just threw it down just to get the idea, you know, where he wants it, the placement and stuff. No real, not a lot of time spent on this, just throw it down really quick. Nice scribbly, loose drawings. It's supposed to tighten.
I love my candy. Oh Lord, this got happening. This will make me feel real good.
Any questions at all about any of this stuff? Is that fun?
Question?
Yeah.
So, like, we start with, like, this rough, right? You
Yeah.
just rough it out just to, like, put in, like, where everything is. And you do that stage by stage, add more detail as you go. How long does it usually take, especially when you got, like, so many frames?
That's a good
Because
question.
aren't you worried, like when you do, like, on the rough stage, it's like you're drawing things so quickly, then when you go to the cleaning up part, it's like, it's so many frames of animation.
Yeah.
It's easy to go overboard. How long does it usually take?
It always differs on the length of the scene, obviously, but I don't know, it all depends. The easier it is for you to draw, the faster you can go. You know, if it's a real struggle, of course, it's going to take longer, but I don't know, on the average, I'd say, you know, anywhere from 15 feet to, some people can do 40 feet a week. You know, they rough it out quite a bit, and then they go back in and back down after it gets approved. You know. Yeah, it varies quite a bit. I was going to do a quick demo to show you guys, you know, just how easy it is to walk this stuff in. And of course, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. I did this exercise years ago. And I wanted to illustrate just how, you know, because when you look at all this stuff, it looks really intimidating when you see all the details. And I did this just to show how simple it can be. Oops. I know sometimes when you watch someone animate, it's like watching paint dry. So I apologize up front for it being not necessarily exciting.
Or real animator here.
Okay, go, if you guys understand, time consuming. I just want to show you real quick. I'm doing this straight ahead. And again, like I was saying, in CG, the equivalent of this would be to take the entire character as a whole without, you know, animating any limbs or anything. Just moving it along, you know, through space and getting that whole overall movement blocked out. Thank God for this onion skin. You guys use Toon Boom mostly, right, or Flash?
Both.
Well,
We used to do traditional. Like when I started, we were using traditional. And now they got spoiled with the boom.
They got rid of the traditional animation.
Ah, yeah. But I was glad
I was sad.
yeah, glad you brought that up, because the whole reason why I'm doing these seminars, I'm going to all the different AI schools and other local schools, is because I went to this gallery showing about, I don't know, a few months ago. And I was talking to this one guy, and he said, "Oh, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm in animation." And he says, "What do you do in animation?" I said, I animate. He says, "I never met an animator." He says, "Everybody I know does storyboard or, you know, other things, development or whatnot, character designs, but I've never met an actual animator." I said, "Yeah, I still do the traditional stuff on paper, man, which is a blast. It's so much fun." He was all, I thought, my God, how sad that, you know, there aren't that many traditional animators out there. It's just all such fun. Okay. That's good enough. Not too long here. So obviously there's the bouncing ball, right? Now, what I'll do is add the head to this. Oops. And this one I'm not going to use the onion skin because I just want to look at it side by side and compare. And real loose, real simple, real rough, dragging the head, and then when it changes direction, of course, it squashes down. It's getting stretched out on the way down here, and it's still squashed on the way up. And the higher it gets, the more it starts to just get back to normal again, until it's normal at the top, and then as it starts to come down again, it stretches more.
You said it's 24 frames per second?
Yeah. The only time I would really change that is if some projects require for television, for video, they require 30 frames a second, so I'll just change the setting down here.
Do you ever work in 12s? Or just always straightforward, 230?
I try to go with 24s, yeah. I guess there's ways to convert it if they need to as well. And of course, as it goes down again, it starts to stretch out. It's still stretched out here. It's squashed in there. Here a little bit more. Okay, let's check this out. Arms. If there's any questions along the way, please feel free to ask if you're thinking, you know, why do you do this or why do you do that?
So why did you put the body parts in the instead? Like
Oh, because if I mess them up, I don't have to, you know, I'm not damaging the other parts.
Is that how you do that on the professional environment?
In general, yeah, I try to, like, with this program, I try to take advantage of it because it's there. But otherwise, I just draw it all on one level of paper. And now these parts are overlapping as the body starts to change direction, slow down, the arms are catching it to start to float up a little bit. Yes. It's just a real simple lay-in just to get that. Just feel it. And you can always go back into all those details later. This will kind of give you an idea. Once you see someone actually do it in front of you, you get an idea of how to build on these things. I don't worry too much about the sizes and volumes just yet. Sometimes adjust those later. things, you know? You have the patience to at least watch it.
Oh, and why did you draw past the canvas?
Oh, I just try to let it lead in, lead out. Like I said, looking this way makes it pretty easy to make changes pretty quick. The neat thing about programs like this is you don't have to wait for the film to come back or shoot a pencil test. You can just hit the enter button and it starts coming back right away. Very things put them together there. Come up with different speeds. This one's a little bit higher, that one's a little bit lower.
So you said you started at Filmation,
Yeah.
and were you doing animation there, or were you doing like keyframes, or?
Actually, the first job I had there was called scene stuffing, which was taking, see in that studio, to keep the budget down, they reused a lot of animations, so they had this whole library, this whole bank of file cabinets where they Xeroxed everything that was animated that they wanted to possibly reuse. You know, they called them stock movements, like certain walk cycles and run cycles and stuff like that. And the storyboard artist would call for those things, like, you know, scene number 12 from show 8, you know, whatever the code was. And then I'd go in there and take a folder, take the Xeroxes out of the file cabinet, copied all the elements that they need to animate it, and put it in the folder, and then send it out for the animators to use. So that was the first job, was scene stuffing it was called. And then I took a test to do assistant animation. That's what I did there for the rest of the time I was there. It's assistant animation, which is the final drawings.
And at the time, that was cleanup? Assistant animation was cleanup then?
Yeah. Well, we used to call it cleanup, but then over the years, some cleanup artists got insulted and made it, because whenever they'd say, you know, people say, what do you do for a living? Oh, I do cleanup. They thought, oh, you empty the trash? It never bugged me. I didn't care if people, you know, what they said. I just explained what it was. But some people would get really miffed and they'd say, no, we're not cleanup. We're assistant animators, which is true. They do. They assist the animator. Their real job is to take whatever the animator does and actually plus it, make it even better. That's the true nature of the job. And of course, to translate what the animators have done.
So did you go to school to learn animation?
Yeah, I did. In fact, when I started at Filmation, at night, during the weeknights and also on the weekends, I'd take as many classes as I could to learn how to animate. And on break times and lunchtime, I'd always animate tests, just, you know, messing around, practicing all the time, just because I loved it so much. Couldn't get enough. So that's how I learned. And of course, when I was at that studio, they had everything under one roof. And I'd ask a question. I'd go around to every single department and ask everybody questions. Camera guys, the guys who took care of the cells, background painters. I'd bug everybody at breaks. I'd go around and ask them questions. Oh, what are you doing? And they were happy to show, you know, what they did. It was really cool. It was a great atmosphere. I wish the animation was better, but it wasn't necessarily the best. But I learned a lot just from asking all these questions, things that you wouldn't learn, you know, in school or at class necessarily, all these on-the-job things. It was great, so much fun. Met a lot of wonderful people, a lot of great friends. That's what you'll find when you go from studio to studio. You'll always make new friends at each place. Some of them are lifelong friends, so it's pretty cool.
How was the transitions from studio to studio?
That's another good question. It's a little jarring at first. You kind of get used to it after a while, because there are certain similarities from studio to studio, but everybody kind of has their own different procedures, you know. And you just kind of just buckle down and learn what you can from everybody. Adapt as quick as you can. Nowadays, it seems though they don't really have the patience to let you ramp up as much. They kind of want you to jump in and know everything right away and just hit the ground running. But you know, many years ago, they gave you a little more time to ramp up and get used to things. Now it's a little more rushed. Yeah, so you'd be shocked. Yeah. That shows up. But if you looked at this, you know, at first you think, oh wow, it's got a lot of things going on there. You know, how do you keep track of that? It's all about just breaking it down to its most primary movement, and additively doing things little by little. More and more, it looks more and more complicated. Nice overlapping shapes. And then, of course, you can go back in and, you know, put the expression on there and little buttons on. If he's wearing a vest, you have the clothes overlap, all kinds of stuff.
How far can you space parts of the image for them to still belong together as you go through frame to frame? If they fly too far away, they might feel like they don't belong together anymore.
Oh, you mean if
One-
they're spaced too far
Yeah,
apart?
from one frame to another. If part flies away from the original image to another frame, to another part of the frame, what's your, like, if you hear suddenly from one frame to another part on the other side, would it still feels like it's belonging to the same head, or is suddenly like your eye loses track of it?
Yeah, if you start moving things too far ahead,
Right.
it'll show up, it'll look like it pops forward too.
Right.
It doesn't have a natural progression.
Right,
to
that's
get
what
there.
I'm asking. How far do you feel that it could actually progress for you not to lose, like, continuity of the movement?
I think that comes with practice. The more you do it, the more you kind of get a personal feel. And everybody has a little bit of a different way of doing it, so it's good to, you know, study from different people and stuff, as much input as you can. But yeah, I think the best way to really get used to all these things is just practice, practice, practice. The more you do it, it's kind of like piano or any musical instrument. The more you do the scales, the easier it gets, and then you just, then after a while you can play a song, and, you know, and then you can compose, and there's all these different stages. Does that answer the question?
So there's really no rule, you just have to do it and see how far you can stretch them to see if it feels natural.
You can usually go further than you think you can. Like there's this old saying I've heard that some old Disney animator was doing something. He showed it to Walt and he said, no, push it further, make it, you know, more crazy. And he pushed it further and he kept going back and forth a few times, and finally he said, just do it so crazy that you think it's going to make me mad. He says, okay, I'll show him. You know, he went crazy and pushed things around. He said, that's it, that's perfect, that's what I want. So it's like there's a saying that says if you go twice as far as you think you're supposed to go, you'll be halfway there. So it's something, you heard that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's weird. It's this weird phenomenon when you're animating. You think, oh, I'm pushing it so far, it's going to look nuts, but it's actually better because it makes things read more clearly. So yeah, it works out nice. And it's always good to, another thing that helps for, you know, to help your judgment of how much you move things and exaggerate them, is to use a live action reference. You know, look at how people move and behave in real life, and animals too. Well, a got a quick little film here that I want to show you guys. Something that's really pretty funny. I don't even remember where I got this from. Somebody just mailed this to me one day. And it was a really funny video, and it was a great reference for how these guys are behaving, all this behavior. And I don't think it's staged, I think it's real. You could judge for yourself, but there's a little bit of swearing in here, so I hope it doesn't offend anyone. It's not really, really, really bad, it's just like, you know, some guys
Don't worry.
argue. What's that?
Don't worry about
Okay.
that.
I just wanted to give a heads up. This is really, oh, it's only Windows Media, but oh well. Here we go. When they get up close, watch how these guys, their expressions and their body language. It's really funny.
I'm gonna go for two. I'm gonna go for two.
Hey, let's just calm down.
You and your electronic crap?
Calm down.
Hey, fucking camera.
It's not even on.
Yeah, I hope it's very fucking
Let's get back to the golf game.
It is a game now.
Listen to your friend.
This is a breeze.
Listen to your friend. Shut up, all right?
Get this fucking camera.
Hey, it's not even on. And no way. Fucking guys. Fast. I'm out of breath. Jesus Christ, man. Oh, shit. God damn it. He fucking broke Maria.
Want to see it one more time? That's hilarious, man. Those guys, I don't think they expected quite that reaction. When you're in the, I just want to talk a little bit about the frame of mind that you're in when you animate. I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but when I was taking classes, we had this one guest speaker who was really, really good. He was a former Disney animator, worked on Fox and the Hound and all kinds of stuff. And one thing I remember he told us to really get a really good performance out of your characters is really believe that they're like real, you know, really, really get into it. And because if you think of it like, oh, it's just a cartoon moving around, and I'll make cool drawings and make it move nice and stuff, and that's all nice, and it's very aesthetic, but he would get into it to the point where he's like almost a little crazy, like he'd go, yeah, you know, Bugs Bunny was telling me the other day, it's like, whoa, dude, you're a little crazy. But he forces himself to really get into it, because if it's, the more real it is to him as an actual entity, the more believable it comes across to the audience on the screen. That's what he found. And I found that to be pretty true. I mean, I'd watch dailies at Disney, and they'd show pencil tests of everybody's work from the previous day or week. And scenes would go by and wow, that looks cool, oh, that looks great. And then all of a sudden a scene would come on and you'd go, whoa, who did that, man? I mean, it's not drawings anymore, it's this actual living thing that's breathing, thinking, and behaving like a real, person or creature. It's just, it blows your mind. It just transitions from drawings to this thing, and that's like the ultimate goal for a lot of animators, I think, is to shoot for that. So that's something to keep in mind, just as a little side note or bar to keep track of your stuff. Another thing I found that is helpful that I've been telling students for a while that always helped me is whenever I'd start a scene, I get all anxious and nervous and freaked out, and oh my God, you look at all the elements and what you have to do and how it fits into the film and the continuity and everything, and you can get a little freaked out, and it kind of, what it does is it stunts your progression, it kind of tightens you up, and you get all nervous, uptight, and I found that just don't worry so much about it, just relax and try to, I used to say, yeah, drink some beers and all. I don't regularly recommend that, I'm just saying, you gotta relax, is all I'm saying. Because the more you relax, the more comfortable you'll be, and I think the better the performance you'll be able to communicate across to everybody. It's just something I want to pass along to everybody. wanted to show you some guys, another thing that helped me out, not only to get over that nervousness, but that's one hurdle, but also to be inspired, which is another thing I think a lot of teachers probably leave out. I've noticed when I see them teach, they're like teaching theory, but they don't necessarily go that extra step to like get everybody fired up and inspired to see what you can do with animation. So I wanted to show you guys a short film that is something you may not have seen that much, or it's kind of obscure, but I'll show you, it's pretty wild. I've always found this one inspiring because of how pushed things are. It's short.
Once upon a time, way back in 1941,
The German High Command wishes to announce another fleet of Nazi bombers has failed to reach Moscow. Heil Hitler!
Bomben der Moskau, Bomben Stalin, Bomben der Irish General Tim Oschenko. To bomb Moscow, I will send the best pilot in the Reich. The Superman of all time. Who's that? You, Führer? Who else? I'm a gremlin from the Kremlin.
We are Russian gremlins up in the sky with them. Several bluebirds, aeroplanes, we snipe right to the ground. We like nothing better than to mess up Messerschmitts and send their heavy bombers down to earth in teeny bits. Napoleon